Video here on how to disassemble the MLE or MLM, the long Lee Enfield series of rifles, the bolt, which is the bolt that comes with the dust cover on it, how to disassemble the entire bolt, because they are a little bit different than your standard Lee Enfield bolts, because both they have the dust cover and they also have the safety. This is to the model with the safety. I'm not sure if it's the Mark II or the Mark I Star when they added these safeties to them, but I'm going to show how to disassemble them. I've noticed that a lot of these guns, when you get them, have almost never been, the bolts have never been taken apart at all, because these dust covers are a real pain to get off, and a lot of times you could see that they're covered in junk and that underneath of them, because they've never been taken off, because people don't really understand how they come off, because there's sort of like a trick to it. So in order to, the bolts I'm using are, this is a speed, the typical bolt from your MLE. The bolt I'm using is actually from a Cavalry carbine, but it doesn't matter. This is for any of the Lee Enfields that use a dust cover on the top. And to start off with, when you disassemble it, after you take it out of the gun, you have to take the dust cover off. And in order to take the dust cover off, there's a slot right here, and it's actually the back of the dust cover. It hooks into that, and it's grabbing into it. So you can't just push this dust cover off. Even if you try and hammer it, it usually won't go, because it's grabbing in there pretty good. So in order to take this off, what I do is usually take a screwdriver like this and push it underneath until it's popped up enough that you could see that it's out of the slot, until the little claw comes out of the slot. And once it's like that, it still won't move. It's pretty hard on there, and you can, at this point, bang something on the end of it. Like if you have a brass hammer or a plastic hammer, you might be able to just tap it and it'll slide off, or you could bang it on a table or something and it might move for you. But sometimes they're on there very, very tight, because like I said, no one has cleaned these things in like who knows when. So sometimes they're on there extremely tough, and you might have to actually take a metal hammer or be more aggressive with it to get it off. But it'll once you get it out of that slot back here, and it moves back, then it'll just come off. It's very simple to get off once you get it out of the slot and get it back in that. The next, at this point, you want to take the bolt head off, and it's just like any other Enfield. It just unscrews. You just unscrew it from the end. It's very simple. And after that, what I would do is take the safety off, or I should say the striker, and it's also the safety assembly. And in order to get this off, there's a screw, there's an upper screw, and what you do is just unscrew that, and then on the bolt there's two slots. Usually when it comes out of the gun, it's like this, but you want to move it to the lower slot. You just twist it to the lower slot. That just takes a little bit of tension off the spring. It's not a big deal. It will come out if you have it in that slot, but I would just put it in this slot, because I think that's how it's supposed to be done, and it makes it just that much easier. So once you do that, put it in that slot, you have to use a tool. You have to use this tool right here, which has the forks on it. You can buy these at surplus stores. I've never seen an original one, but there's a lot of repros. You can even make this out of just a piece of metal tube. It's not under that much force or anything. And you put that, the firing pin will be inside of your main body, and you put that over the firing pin like this, and you just twist it, and then it will come out, and your safety slash striker will come off and be free. And now, in order to get the safety off, the safety will be like this, and there's two positions, and it's held in by a plunger. There's a little tiny plunger. It's not a ball bearing, it's a little plunger, and it goes into, there's two positions, these little round marks in the safety. That's how it works. And in order to get this off, you have to take it off the gun. And then what you want to do is rotate it halfway. You rotate it halfway between those two little divots that are in the safety, and the plunger will be depressed at this point. Now at this point, you should be able to just wiggle it and it'll pull right out. Usually. Because sometimes if these guns have not been cleaned in a long time, just about every part in this will be sticky. It'll be full of grease and all that. So you might use force on it. Like I would just use a little bit of force and get it out. But you put it halfway between the two divots, and then it should just wiggle right out. And then you can take the plunger and its spring out. But after that, that's about all there is. That's about all there is to it, really. Once you put it back together, you clean it all up. It's the same thing, just in reverse. The only thing is when you put your dust cover on, I highly recommend you thoroughly clean the little space here, this little ramp. You could even polish it, perhaps, and the little slots that are underneath these little hooks, clean them thoroughly, because when you go to put this on, later, then you just put it on like this, and then you're going to push down on it and forward. But the next time you go to take it off, it should be much easier once it's cleaned under there. It's just that it's very, very hard to get it off the first time you do it, because you just never know if the gun has maybe not even been cleaned since the 1800s even. So that's just that's a very difficult thing to do. But I wouldn't be too afraid of breaking this part, because it's like a spring, and it's not really easy to break it. But you just pop it up just enough so it's out of that little groove there. Just pop it up just enough, like it'll just barely be out of it, like this, you can see there, and then tap it out with a brass hammer, or a plastic hammer if you have one, if it goes, and if it doesn't, you may have to use a little bit of force. But once it's out of that groove, that's all that's holding it on, is just the little these little stubs here, and it should be able to come off. It shouldn't be stuck in there. So I just thought I would do a video on that, because I know it was frustrating for me to figure out how to do this stuff. So anyways, that's my video on the MLE bolts. So thank you for watching.